I didn't hear none of y'all join in and sing that song.
That's good.
But that's what I'm talking about with the church and stuff, you know. Those songs, you know what? All those words to all the Negro spiritual, what people call Negro spiritual, they're all simple because English was not our first language. So, but there was a guy named Willie Lynch in Virginia who come up with a set of rules for plantation owners and how to manage your plantation slaves stuff. Never have too many slaves from the same tribe. Let them not have a common language. Take away their drums, you know. The only language they have and the only gods they have will be the ones you teach them. If someone acts out, you pick the strongest one and you whip them down publicly, and let that be a lesson for all the rest. And if you do these things, you'll be able to control your slaves. There's a town named after this guy called Lynchburg. I once applied for a job there. I got a Lynchburg College, I believe it was. All my friends asked me, they said, like, have you checked out the name of the school? It's kind of funny though, every time there's something that happens like that, you know, I mean, let's not forget, you know, we come through some hard times with the blues. There's some stuff in here. This is the Black Poets. This book came out in the 60s. And stuff. And you see my copy is all yellow and stuff like this. And I try not to let pages fall out because I don't know if I can find this book again, you know, to tell you the truth about it. But that's when we didn't have anybody publishing us, and all of a sudden there were these Third World Press started, and this is Dudley Randall. He was in Detroit. Third World in Chicago, but Detroit they did a broadside press, and this is what this book comes out of. The other one was Black Classics, which was kind of odd because we didn't even have classics. You know? but that's what they did, and so this is how we find this work. This is how we find it. A lot of the people that I like are they're not in circulation anymore. You know, but we're starting to rediscover them now and stuff. You know. There's a poem here by Claude McKay that I like to. It's called "If We Must Die." Churchill read this poem when London was being bombed by Germany almost daily, to galvanize the people and to give them strength to endure and stuff. If we must die, if we must die, let it not be like hogs, hunted and pinned in an inglorious spot, while round us bark the mad and hungry dogs, making their mark at our cursed lot. If we must die, oh, let us nobly die, so that our precious blood may not be shed in vain, that even the monsters we defy shall be constrained to honor us though dead. Oh, kinsmen, we must meet the common foe. Though far outnumbered, let us show us brave, and for their 1,000 blows deal one death blow. What go before us lies the open grave. Like men will face the murderers, cowardly pack, pressed to the wall, dying, but fight back. Wow. Claude McKay comes to this country in the 40s. You know, it was about the 30s he come in. He had never lived in a place where blacks were a minority. And he comes here at a time when Ida B. Wells and there's this anti-lynching movement going on because it's following Reconstruction. There are all these lynchings and stuff, you know, which continued into the early 1900s, 1920s, 30s, 40s. The highest point would probably be around 1950s. 60s, you know, and we even had one in 1995 or something like that. You know, you probably don't remember it because it wasn't never call a lynching, but if you tie a guy to the back of your pickup truck and drag him down the road, that's a lynching. That's a lynching. You know, people were burned, people were hung, people were shot, people were beaten to death. They're all lynchings and stuff.
Not only black people.
Not only
but
blacks.
white people that had black friends.
Leo Frank was
they don't talk about that in the books,
No,
but there
they
was
do
a lot
not.
of, there's quite a famous photo. I was trying to get it because it was two blacks that had been hung, but they had also hung a white guy that had been with them that day, but they didn't take a picture of him.
And
Or they never issued the picture in the books,
Right.
but he was hanging with them and they did something that someone thought was bad and they hung all of them.
the fact that they were together
Yep.
is
That
enough.
was bad.
That's
Yeah.
enough.
You know,
And, you know, Leo Frank was a Jewish man in Atlanta who was lynched, and this was like in I think in the 40s when he was lynched and stuff. You know, over this case. So it's just not black people getting lynched. They lynched Native Americans. They lynched Mexicans.
it's just that mob mentality.
It's the mob mentality where they will take over the jail. The sheriffs were in it. There were pictures, the postcard. There was a show called Against Sanctuary, Without Sanctuary. It was, the art exhibit was the collection of postcards that had been made of lynchings from photographs as souvenirs. And people would just mail them to their folks. And so this guy, he went around, he collected, you know, he was collecting, he got a bunch of those. And the thing that got me, all the crowds that were there at the time and stuff, you know. Nobody was ever convicted of a lynching up until the brother in Jasper, Texas was dragged behind that truck. St. Bernard.
Yeah, Southern Poverty Law Center. I don't know if you're aware of that crowd. Yeah, a guy named Deese is a lawyer. And
Morris Deese.
Morris put a lot of work
Yeah.
into that so far.
So all these things happen. I'm saying there's a response. We have a response to our world that we bring to the music as well as into the poetry and stuff. You know, when that poem by Claude McKay was his reaction to coming to America, you know, from Jamaica, and all of a sudden he's in a place where being different can get him killed. You know, and he had never experienced that. And it really frustrated the brother. But he cloaked that poem into a sonnet. It's a sonnet. And I love it when sonnets don't call attention to themselves as like, I'm a sonnet. You know, but they don't do that and stuff, you know. But he, you know, but that's his way of containing all the emotion that he felt, you know. I mean, that will have to wreck your head to come to that type of situation. And
the song Strange Fruit, if I'm not mistaken, it's a Jewish songwriter.
it was written by Abel Mirapole, and it was a poem. He wrote it as a poem. And Billie Holiday ended up singing that poem and stuff. And after that, it was hers. You know.
And that was a song that we actually talked. That was one of the first songs that we talked about doing. And when Gary came over to the house, and I said, you know, the song that I've always, because I had a friend, Stan Campbell, who was in the Specials in England, who was a singer, and he did a version of it, and I've always loved. I've never really heard a male version of it. You know, I'd always heard Billie Holiday's version. And you know, you hum those songs when you're a kid, and you don't know the intensity it was written under.